Hey, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 168.
On Now You Know.
Brought to you as always by our wonderful, amazing Patreon patrons who support us on Patreon and have exclusive perks like t-shirts and live streams and, of course, the Patreon bonus stories, which you can get for just $1 a month. Head over to patreon.com and check it out.
And as Amazon associates, we earn from qualifying purchases. Our link is down below in the show notes.
And we're also brought to you by ecoware.us. We have new designs uploaded every week. Check out this one, First Principles.
Also, what's on your head?
A hat.
Yeah, but it's a Now You Know hat.
That's true. It's true. And you can find it at ecoware.us.
Yeah. And we carbon offset from the manufacturer, the shipping, and the life cycle of your purchase.
And then we plant a tree on top of that order so that it's carbon negative.
Now, I think that would make a pretty good stocking stuffer. Just saying.
Yeah. Little hat.
Just
little
saying.
hat like this. Yeah. Very cute.
And I'm kind of jealous of your hat, so I'm going to wear a hat myself.
Oh, okay. Wow. Look at that. We should get into that later.
And we're going to be at Fully Charged Live, which is going to be in Austin, Texas on February 1st and 2nd. Jesse and I will be live on stage with Robert Llewellyn. And if you'd like to get your tickets, use our NYK 2019 ticket code to get 15% off tickets. And don't forget that our 10-part series that we released a couple of years ago still seems to be holding up. It's called our Autonomous Driving Future Series, and you can check that out on Saturdays. All right, so we went someplace special last week, and we just got back and recovered from it.
Yep. And now we're ready to talk about it. And boy, is there a lot to talk about.
Yeah, this is a special edition of Tesla Time News. If you haven't already guessed it, this is going to be all about the Tesla Cybertruck.
So Elon Musk made the Cybertruck, and he made it look cyber. And what he based that off of was Blade Runner. And Blade Runner got its look from a guy named Sid Mead, who was the art director for that movie. And so Sid Mead loves the truck, which is super awesome.
Yeah, he said, as a longtime admirer of Elon Musk, I was truly flattered to hear that Cybertruck would take a cue from the movie. So let's go to Thursday night. If you watched our live stream, you saw that we were in two different spots in the room. And when the truck rolled out, I don't know about you, Jesse, but I almost dropped the cameras that I was holding because even though I was prepared for being unprepared, I wasn't prepared. The truck rolled out and I kind of lost my breath.
Yeah, I mean, I almost got knocked over by the big boom camera that they had. So that's why I almost dropped my camera. This looked just about exactly what I wanted it to look like.
Okay.
I mean, I know that it's quite easy to say, you know, retroactively that, what I thought was true, but I was expecting something like this. Was I expecting it to be so sharp? No. I was expecting a watered down version of this truck.
Right.
I was expecting it to have elements of this truck, but I wasn't expecting this truck.
Yeah, to me, it was astonishing. It was breathtaking. It was aggressive, and it was unreal.
Yeah, and nobody was really ready for it. And I think that the problem was a lot of people had not watched Blade Runner. And I think that a lot of people didn't really understand the level of Elon's nerdiness and how he really sees a different, like an actual future that isn't just adding a couple more cup holders and like grill fins to trucks. Everyone was kind of expecting, like, I don't know, like a regular looking pickup truck.
But I didn't understand that the design takes its cue from its function and that it would take a while to unravel all that and understand all that. So we got to actually ride in it, which was incredible. And the ride is different than what it looks like, to me at least. I was expecting this very terse, very bouncy, uncomfortable ride. And it was anything but that.
Buttery smooth.
Yeah.
That's how I would probably describe it. It was buttery smooth. The inside was extraordinarily spacious. It has a vaulted ceiling on the inside.
Right.
And if you've ever been in a building with a vaulted ceiling, you know that it's pretty spacious. It gives you that extra like roominess feeling. That's what the truck felt like. You had so much room, and the vault is directly above the driver.
Right.
So you could have the tallest man on earth sit in that truck, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to fit.
Yeah, and when we did our test ride, there were 5 of us in the truck. You can fit 6 people in the truck, and it didn't feel that way at all. Like, it didn't feel like you're scrunched in or anything like that. But the point I really want to stress here is I didn't understand this before, that 2 weeks before the event, the engineers were scrambling to build this prototype that we sat in.
Right. They had the design. They had a clay model that they were working off of, but they hadn't taken the driving prototype and matched it with the design, what it was going to actually look like.
So unlike the Model Y, which had basically been a Model 3 in which they had had months and months to kind of refine and work on, this was something completely from scratch and was completely new. And if it was this awesome, which it was, in 2 weeks, you can imagine when they now have time to go back and make some refinements and some adjustments.
And that's leading up to what everyone I think is already thinking, which is, what are you guys talking about? Awesome. This thing is ugly.
Right.
And the first thought in my mind, I kind of knew that this is what I was going to be expecting. But yeah, I was like, oh, it's ugly. Everyone thought that it was ugly the first time they saw it. If this is your first time seeing it, you probably think that it's ugly too. And the funny thing was, I was reading thousands of people's comments. They were scrolling past on the live stream, and it was just like, ugly, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I can't believe it looks like that. And then the next morning, everyone was like, you know what? The look's kind of growing on me. I think that there was 2 reasons for this. One is that people are fickle, and you know, things change over time as we kind of digest them in our minds. And 2 was the functionality, which we're definitely going to get into. But let's talk about the fickleness of humans.
Well, the first thing I just want to talk about is the fog. Normally when you reveal a car and there's fog, it helps the look for some reason. I don't know why. But fog didn't help in this case, I don't think. Later in the night when we got to ride in it and we got up close to it, it looked amazing. On stage with the fog and it was like 2-dimensional, it didn't look as cool.
Right. The fog didn't help because it's so stark and it's so sleek that fog just kind of hides the lines. And honestly, a side-on view of the truck isn't the most exciting.
Right.
It definitely unleashes this sort of, you know, this sort of triangle,
right.
Which is wild and you know, never been seen before. But it didn't flatter the truck.
Well, and the other thing is that trucks don't look pretty anyway. Like,
right.
You might have grown up thinking trucks look cool, but they're not really that cool. They're just, they have to look that way because of their function, right? They have to have a bed and they have to have an engine.
Right. And so Tesla went after the function. But before we get to function, let's
talk about fickle.
Fickle. People are super duper fickle.
Whenever you introduce a new idea to people, most people will reject it. And let me prove my point here. If we go back to some things that we now consider classics, I would argue most of you are going to consider these next few things classics. The movie, It's a Wonderful Life. Right now, every American watches it at Christmas time and just harkens back to a wonderful time. We all feel good and we all cry. But when it came out, Frank Capra's movie was a flop. Nobody liked it. And in fact, most TV stations could play it because they hadn't even remembered to copyright it again. So it fell out of copyright into public domain because everyone thought it was worthless.
Wow.
But now it's a classic.
Now it's a classic.
Let's talk about another classic, the VW Beetle.
It's a classic.
It's
Everyone loves
Everybody
that car.
punch buggies a Beetle when it drives by. It's a classic, but when it came out, it was a flop. Nobody thought it was going to last. Nobody thought they'd like it. Why? Because if you look at it, it doesn't make sense.
I guess it's hard to look at it through fresh eyes. It's a staple. It's a pinnacle of car design.
How about Lord of the Rings, the book trilogy?
What? No, come on. You're just making stuff up now.
Nope, not. When it came out, many of the top book critics, like New York Times and other big famous authors, said it was just boring, dragged on. What was the point? Now it's a classic. How about the Eiffel Tower? When it was built, Parisians hated it. They wanted it torn down. The famous Parisian sat and had lunch in it, and people asked him, why you hate this place? He said, because it's the only place in town that I don't have to see it. And then 20 years later, when the permit ran out and it could be torn down, Parisians went nuts and said, don't tear it down. We love it.
Right. And so that's exactly what we saw over a much faster time span, was that during the live stream, everyone thought it looked ugly.
Well, and I don't think we're through it yet. It's only been 3 or 4 days. So I think that most of us are either at some point, like 4 minutes later after I saw it, I had ordered it. So obviously I didn't think it was ugly. But for a lot of people who probably still think it's ugly, you may think that till the day you die, or maybe at some point you'll change your tune. Maybe when you see it up close, or maybe when you get a chance to sit in it. Who knows?
Right. Or maybe when it, smashes through a wall because it can do that, Like,
but I mean, many messages, like Jesse was saying, we read many comments that night that said it's ugly, and we had many people message us the next day who said,
it's growing on me.
Yeah, they said, last night I thought it was ugly, but today I think it's pretty cool. Just earlier today, Elon tweeted that 146,000 orders had come in for the Cybertruck. That's 42% choosing the dual motor, 41% choosing the tri-motor, and 17% choosing the base model, which is the single motor. Now, we'll put up on the screen what that would represent in terms of orders, but basically that's about $8 billion in orders. But you know what just came in before we went to air?
Elon tweeted again. It's gone up to 187,000 orders.
Now, to put that into perspective, that's $9.3 billion in orders in about 3 days. Now, let's go back for a second to the days of the Model 3, back on March 31st, 2016, when Elon talked about, hey, you can put your order in for a Model 3. 36 hours later, 253,000 orders had come in. So we're in the same ballpark here with the Cybertruck.
Right, and keep in mind that back in the Model 3 days, there was no other option. Right. There was nothing you could get in that price point, and everyone was gunning for the $35,000 Model 3, right? So when they were putting down their orders, they wanted the $35,000 Model 3, and that was it. There was no other option. Today, you can buy a Model 3 and it'll arrive in a matter of weeks. You couldn't do that back then. There was nothing. You could get a Bolt, maybe, if you were lucky, and it wouldn't have supercharging. So 187,000 orders already for this truck. I'm ecstatic about that.
And as Elon mentioned, that's with no paid advertising and no paid endorsements.
That's really, really impressive.
And I would argue, ask your friends at work tomorrow, okay? You know everything about it. You're watching Tesla Time News. But I will bet that none of your friends will know about the truck, except maybe they've heard about this. The broken window. All right, so let's talk about the window snafu. Elon tweeted this out. Franz throws steel ball at Cybertruck window right before launch. Guess we have some improvements to make before production. Haha. So what had happened, you all saw this probably, is that Franz went out there and he even asked Elon, he's like, should I do it? And he threw the ball at the window. Now, keep in mind, well, you described this pretty well.
Right. So Franz had already come out with a sledgehammer, that was like a 10-pound sledgehammer, and he bashed a regular truck door to smithereens, and then he bashes the Tesla truck twice. Now, this may not carry through the presentation. Franz is a big guy.
Yeah.
He's very tall.
And he's jacked.
And he's pretty jacked. So he just took a 10-pound sledgehammer and was doing some work with it. So he was pumped.
Right.
He's on stage, everyone's cheering, everyone's so super excited. He picks up this mini cannonball and chucks it with all his might, which is very different if you can see from this video where he's kind of like, whoop, right? Because he's excited. So he goes for his, MLB throw.
And he's got to make it look good.
Exactly. So I think that's why the glass breaks here. But again, this is good news for everybody because Elon's going to make sure that never happens again, which means that they're going to make sure that that's an even stronger window.
And the thing is, it didn't go into the cabin of the truck.
It's true.
It broke the glass, but it stopped it.
Right. And this is like a 5 to 10 pound mini cannonball.
Right.
Like it's a steel ball. Like it's not a rock. A rock would have been a third the mass of this thing.
Right.
So it's dumb to choose there was a lot of things that they could have improved with that test.
And I want to go back to the 2-week thing. They had basically built this thing in 2 weeks, which means not only did they have to build it in 2 weeks, they had to come up with the presentation in a span of no time,
right.
Which is unheard of. Every other car company would be focused on months of preparation and scripting and getting everything right. I mean, we went to the auto show, and that's what they've done. They spent all their time on the marketing.
Right. And there's no ball bearings being thrown at the auto show, right? It's just like, here's the car. It's behind a glass panel, and there's a person there that's going to make sure that you don't touch it because they don't want anything to happen.
Well, and like we went to VW and we asked to see the frunk of their Vision car, and they said, "Oh, well, the button that operates the frunk doesn't work." What,
right? So this was a huge risk by having Franz after hitting it with a sledgehammer throw a ball at the windows, and it did not pay off.
No.
And as a result, they had to speed up the presentation, because the whole time the windows were sitting there broken.
And I mean, it flustered Elon. I mean,
Right.
you know, and there were basically some slides I think he didn't even touch on.
Right. And I think that it's a real shame, because there's some really exciting stuff to go through. And that's what we're going to go through right now.
One of the slides that popped up showed the prices of these 3 versions of the truck. And when I saw it, again, I almost dropped the camera, because I honestly was expecting a $75,000 base price for the truck. I thought all they're going to try and do is come in close to the Rivian, and that'll be as good as they can get. But what I saw was a $39,900 base, a $49,900 dual motor,
Right.
and a $69,900 top-end 3-motor truck that could go 500 plus miles.
I couldn't wrap my head around that base price, because that's cheaper than my car.
That's when I started trying to order it.
Yeah. What? I mean, $39,900 for a pickup truck?
Yeah.
That's a great price. And now it's an electric pickup truck.
Yeah.
And it's also bulletproof?
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about some of the specs here.
Yeah.
There's so many to talk about. Let's talk about ground clearance, because this is going to be a truck that you can go off-roading in. And so let's just compare it to something similar. This Cybertruck has 16 inches of ground clearance.
So up to, because it has air suspension.
Right.
So it has 4 inches of travel both ways.
Right. If you look at a Ford F-150, they have 8.8 to 9.4 inches of ground clearance. Silverado, 8.9 inches of ground clearance. And the Ram has 10.3 inches. So it's not like they beat it by a little bit. They beat it by at least 6 to 10 inches.
Almost double.
Right.
That's crazy.
Autopilot is going to come standard on all 3. So if you don't need full self-driving, you don't have to purchase that. Autopilot will be there for you. There is unibody construction. Now, that word got thrown around a lot, but what does it mean?
So this is an exoskeleton of a car. So it's a really hard thing to wrap your head around. The outside of the car is the frame of the car. It's probably how you once thought cars were made, like when you were maybe 6, right? You just thought, okay, here's my die-cast car. This must be how cars are made because I'm 6, right?
Right.
The outside of the car is the frame of the car.
So there's a 6.5-foot bed to the truck. Now, most pickup trucks, you call it the bed. Tesla's calling it the vault. Why are they calling it the vault?
Because you can completely close it and lock it up.
Yeah.
You can close the tailgate, and then you can have just like an armored piece of the car come down and lock.
Yeah.
Meaning that no one can steal anything in the bed. So just think about this for a second. Most pickup trucks you see that are being used for construction or basically any trade whatsoever, you need tools. You need to be able to safely store your tools. So what do you do in your pickup truck? You put a toolbox in your pickup truck, which eats up a lot of bed space, and it sits there and it rusts.
Right.
And someday
and
you're
it's
going
got
to
limited size.
Exactly. You can't store shovels in it. So if someone's going to steal your shovels, they're going to steal your shovels, right? That's just the way it is. With this, you can lock up everything in the bed.
So the bed is 57 inches wide. So that means that you can fit quite a bit of stuff there, not just a sheet of plywood. The Cybertruck has 35-inch tall, 12.5-inch wide off-road tires.
Yeah, that's really, really impressive, especially for off-road stuff.
Now, let's go back to the construction of the body itself. It's 301 stainless steel, 3 millimeters thick.
Right. Now, 301 stainless steel, this is 30 times cold-rolled stainless steel. So it is extraordinarily hard. And they tested it by shooting it with a gun, with a 9 millimeter at 10 meters away. And the bullet just shattered.
Right. So
didn't even leave a mark.
So I just want to talk about this. You can hit it with a sledgehammer. You can shoot it with a gun. That means that you've got a truck now that doesn't get dinged up under normal use.
It doesn't get scratches. It doesn't get little dents because you,
right.
I bonked it with a 2x4 and now there's a dent. And the dent will be there until I fix it or get a new truck.
And it doesn't rust. See, pickup trucks normally just start to rust because you use them and they get scratched and stuff. This is not going to rust.
Because it can't rust. You'd have to put it in like a giant kiln just for it to even begin to oxidize. Like, it won't rust.
Now, here's another thing. There's a trunk in the vault.
So in the bed of the truck, there is more storage.
Right.
So on top of being able to lock everything, here's your toolbox already in the vault of the truck.
So if you get the 2-motor edition, That's 690 horsepower, we estimate, which is 824 foot-pounds of torque.
That's insane. And then the 3-motor could be as much as 800 horsepower and 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, which is a lot of torque.
Now, a lot of people look at the truck and they think that it's either way bigger than they thought or way smaller. It's hard to get a take on it because there's no normal proportions that you're used to. So we thought this picture is really valuable. This is a Ford F-150 in red and the Cybertruck obviously in silver, so that you can get an idea that they're basically the same size.
Right. They wanted to stick to the same dimensions of the Ford F-150. And that makes everything a lot easier because for anyone who has a Ford F-150, it's going to fit in your life.
Right. So another thing to think about here is that the Cybertruck has 100 cubic feet of exterior lockable storage. That is because they have what Elon calls the Magic Tonio cover that is strong enough to stand on.
So you can put all your stuff in the truck and then you can, the cover comes down and then you can walk up your truck.
Right.
That's cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
It has an onboard air compressor. So if you're going to give the 4 wheels air suspension, why not let the truck owner use that air compressor to run tools off of?
So, I mean, you could do nail gun. You could do, like a pneumatic driver.
Yep.
You could blow up a big balloon.
Yeah.
You could even pump up the tires with it.
Yeah.
I mean, so many fun possibilities. You have an air compressor. You also have power, 110 and 220.
That's what I asked for.
So you could run a full-sized, big, beefy table saw, or you could charge an electric vehicle with it. I mean, like, worst case scenario, you can go charge your Model 3 with it. You could probably power your house off of it, or certain bits of your house if you really needed to.
Exactly.
I mean, that's a serious amount of utility right there. You got air power and electricity power right there in this huge battery.
You got this air suspension where all 4 tires individually can be raised or lowered 4 inches in either direction. It's adaptive air suspension. That means as you're driving this truck, and most trucks don't do this, they've got coil suspension. But as you're driving this truck, and we felt it, you've got this nice ride.
It's a really, really nice ride. And the other thing that this allows you to do is to pitch the truck back, which means that you can lower down a ramp and you can drive an ATV, an electric ATV, up into the bed of the truck. Now, yes, of course, pickup trucks have third-party ramps that you can get. Are there third-party ramps that are the tailgate of your truck? Are there? Because I'm not a truck guy.
I mean, we were just at the auto show in LA, and the big thing this year was that, was it Chevy had the, a step on their tailgate.
Step. This one is a ramp. And you can pitch the whole thing backwards.
Can I just talk about the step for a second? If I've got a bag of, heavy concrete that I need to put in my truck, the step is not going to help me get it into the truck.
You can now be wheelbarrowing stuff up into your truck.
Exactly.
That's just a complete game changer. It's a completely different way of thinking about stuff. I mean, this means you can be, rolling on and off lawnmowers, anything you can think of practically. And just being able to pitch your truck backwards means that it's going to be a lot easier for you to shovel out mulch or gravel or whatever the heck you're putting in the back of this thing.
Now, Elon grew up in South Africa, and he knows that off-roading is an important thing, and he knows that if you're going to do it right, you need a functional wraparound rock rail. That's what the Cybertruck has.
Right.
Another thing you should have on your Cybertruck is a camper accessory.
So take a look at this. Take a look at it very closely. So first you have the tent portion, which is cool. A lot of pickup truck owners like having some form of tent, whether it's on the roof or whatever. In this case, it's in the bed of the truck. You have the vault, the sides that are there anyway. You have a tent to go around it. And then underneath where you're sleeping in the bed of the truck, you're going to have these drawers that come out with a cooking surface, with a food prep surface, and tons of storage.
Now, just to point out, this is probably, I don't know what this is yet. I mean, Elon just said that it will have this accessory, but I think the cooking is going to be electric, which means that it's not going to be polluting or carbon.
Exactly. So you're going to have, because it makes sense. You have this big battery, electric truck. You can cook stuff right there inductively. Yeah. I mean, that's super smart.
And if you're going to have a vault roof, why not make it solar? So Elon has said, will be an option to add solar power that generates 15 miles per day, possibly more.
15 miles a day. Again, let's go back to the sort of camping idea. You drive out into the middle of the wilderness. There's absolutely no infrastructure whatsoever. There's nowhere to plug in your electric truck. You can get 15 miles a day just from the sun. And he said that with fold-out panels, you'd be able to get up to 45 miles a day.
So I just want to talk about Rivian for a second. The whole idea behind the Rivian truck was that you could go and do these off-road adventures. Well, I think he just game matched that one.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk about some of the innovations in the Cybertruck, because that night there were so many of them. First of all, didn't know about most of them until I read about them later. He didn't even talk about some of them. So, right. I mean, you've got the ramp. The ramp itself, I mean, that itself would make a truck of the year if it came out on any other truck, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, the ability to be able to get your wheelbarrow up there without having to carry along this third-party ramp or anything like that.
It's genius.
I know that I can't even think about half of the different possibilities that there are because I've never owned a pickup truck. So, and even still, I never thought that you could get stuff up into the bed of the truck.
Let's talk about the vault. Turning your bed into a vault. Now, I know there's third-party options for trucks so you can put cabs and stuff over them, but to have it built in so that push a button and your bed is now a vault changes the whole way you think about a truck, because normally you pull into a parking spot and you're like, oh no, all my valuables are in the back. I can't leave it there.
Right.
But now you can.
Right. Let's talk about the exoskeleton. So now you have the outside of your truck, which you can hit with a sledgehammer. This completely changes the way that this truck is a truck, because all trucks have been built like cars.
I mean, if you're at a job site, if you're driving through the forest, those are times when you don't have to you don't want to worry about, branches hitting your truck, right. or a guy with a nail gun coming up and leaning on your
right.
truck.
Right.
You're not going to have to worry about that.
You don't have to worry about your zipper.
Right.
Oh, don't lean on my car.
Right.
You're going to get it all scratched.
And rust. I mean, as soon as that scratch happens, it starts to rust right. until you repair it. So you don't have to worry about that.
Even after you repair it, if it's not like a 100% dry day, and it's all over once most trucks are scratched.
And going to the bulletproof part, every police department in the world is going to want this truck.
Because no other trucks are bulletproof, right? When you buy a Ford Explorer for the police, now you might think that they're bulletproof. Keep thinking that, because it keeps the police more safe. You're not going to try shooting at them. They're not bulletproof.
No.
And they don't armor plate their trucks. They don't have no police department has the budget for that. The only time, the only exceptions are, of course, armored personnel carriers for SWAT and stuff like that. But nobody no police force actually has a bulletproof truck. Now you can have a bulletproof truck that you can buy for $39,900. Like, seriously?
I know, it's crazy. And I'm just going to, electrical outlets, the air suspension, the fact that you can tilt it, the headlights. That's crazy. There are T-slots and L-track in the vault or the bed of the truck. That means that there's tie-down points, pretty much infinite tie-down points, right. and attachment points in the bed.
And it's a lit bed. Now,
it's a lit, and we don't mean lit like we mean it's lighted. It's a lit bed.
Right.
Where have you seen that before?
Right. And it's all stainless steel. I mean, the armor glass. Now, obviously, it didn't hold up to Franz throwing that really heavy projectile.
But like you said, I think once Elon fixes that, it's going to.
If they had done a different presentation where Franz had like a 2x4 and he just swung it into it, the 2x4 would not have broken the glass.
Right.
They used a steel cannonball. That's the worst case scenario.
Now, when you do decide to put your $100 down on the truck, and you know what? If you're even thinking about a truck, I urge you to do it. But when you do, you're going to have the option to lock in the full self-driving price of $7,000. Think about that for a second, because full self-driving is not going to get cheaper. It's going to get more expensive. As they add new features, he's going to add price to that. And so you're locking in at $7,000. The truck's not going to come out till 2021 or 2022, depending on the version you get. And so you've just locked in that price. That's a value right there. Mm-hmm. So, of course, I ordered it. So we're going to have it here on the channel. And I ordered it, I'm serious, 4 minutes after he put the website on the page. And the only reason it took longer is because I had 2 hands full of cameras, and one of them was the live stream camera, which was my phone. So it took me a minute, and it was so busy that the thing just kept going around and around.
Because
and around.
So many people were ordering.
But I waited and went through, and I probably top 100.
I hope so.
I hope so. And so this is what my account looks like now.
You got the Roadster, you got the Powerwalls, you got the truck on there. Wow.
And we are getting the semi-truck. You may not see it on this account, but it is on another account. Yep. So don't worry about that. Before the event, we were asking all of our friends at the show. You remember we were asking Tim, Andy, Gally, Kim, all of them what they thought was going to be revealed that night. And a couple of them, I can't remember who said what because there's so many ideas, but a couple of them said there'll be some small car in the back of the truck. And I thought, that's crazy.
That's funny. And yet we were treated with this lovely contraption, an electric ATV made by Tesla. This is something that anyone who is interested in Tesla and ATVs has been dreaming about for the longest time. I got some up-close footage of it. It looks really, really cool.
It's called the Cyber Quad.
And you can charge it in the bed of the truck.
Yeah.
I don't know what
on
to
its
tell
own,
you.
if this had been, like, if this had just been all they talked about, like one day they're just like, hey, we've come out with this, it would be a story that I think would be like, everyone would be excited about for 2 weeks.
Exactly. Exactly right. This could have been a story all on its own, and yet they rolled it in with this truck.
And Elon has said this is going to be an option for the Cybertruck. So it doesn't look like you'll be able to buy this separately. It looks like, at least at first, it'll only be an option for the Cybertruck.
Which forces people who want the Cyber Quad to buy the whole truck.
Right. And
Which is smart. But
Right.
I think that they'll probably come out with it a little later, that you could, because you probably want a second one.
Right. I think we should get it as an option.
Yeah. There's one thing that nobody is talking about, because there was only one picture of it. It was only up on stage for like a split second, and that's the frunk. This is the only picture of it. I know, it's a terrible, grainy picture. I'm so sorry. It's got a huge frunk. That frunk's enormous.
Yeah.
It's enormous, and I'm super duper excited about it. Because
It's like another vault.
I know. I mean, talk about tools.
Yeah.
You can store so many tools on this thing.
Yeah.
There's your second toolbox.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're talking about. 6 people, and
That's like a hot tub.
yeah, the amount of stuff you're going to be able to cram in this truck is going to be insane. This could be a moving truck, it seems like.
So here's what we know so far about the powertrain for the Cybertruck. It should have the Model S X inductive rear motor in the back and a Model 3 permanent magnet rear motor in the front. If you get the 39.9 version, the base version, it'll have a single battery pack, and that'll be under the cab of the truck. They don't want to put anything under the bed of the truck because that would change the weight for the, if you want to put a load in the truck. But if you do need the longer range, they're going to double up the pack. They're going to stack them on top of each other, put that under the cab so that you can get that nice long range. So here's something really interesting about that 30 times cold rolled stainless steel that we talked about. This is the same stainless steel they're using to build Starship.
And this is the strength of Tesla, and this is the strength of Elon, because when you're designing things, when we're doing technology, there's been billions of people on this planet and all working to progress technology, and it's been moving in all sorts of different directions. And interdisciplinary engineering is some of the strongest engineering that there is. That's the stuff that disrupts. Elon works for a rocket company. How many other truck designers work for a rocket company making a rocket that's going to go to Mars?
Right. He's the lead designer at SpaceX, and he's the lead chief engineer at Tesla.
Right.
Like, who has that on their resume? And you brought up a good point about the stainless steel and Starship.
When we do get to Mars, on the Starship, you can just take some of the Starships that either, you don't need to fly back to Earth with, cut them up, fold them up, turn them into Cybertrucks.
Right, because that's how they're making the Cybertruck. The cold rolled steel cannot be stamped. It's so strong it breaks the stamping machine, as Elon has said here. So what do? They score it, they bend it. And it's like basically stainless steel origami.
Right. This is a completely new way to build a truck.
And that goes back to why it's shaped the way it is. You can't bend things easily in curves. You can only bend them in straight linear lines.
Right, because you can't stamp it.
Right.
And basically the side effect of this is that when you hit it with a sledgehammer, nothing happens. Right? Because normally, if you're hitting it with a sledgehammer, the metal is thinking like, oh, I must be being stamped, so I should change my shape. I should plastically deform. Here, steel's like, I don't stamp. I do not stamp. You don't hit me.
Now, you don't need a paint shop if you're not going to paint the truck. So you save $200 million building a paint shop into your factory because you're never going to paint it. Also, you save all that time and all those selections because everybody's going to get a stainless steel truck.
And you save everybody else's time because there's not going to be any like, oh, it's a little scratch and it's going to start to rust. There's no rust. It's stainless steel. And, we're talking about stainless steel origami and being able to, build trucks on Mars. I think that they're going to be able to use this exact same technology to build a cyber van. And in fact, I kind of am stealing the idea from Mark Frohnmeyer from Arcimoto, because he kind of told us this idea and we're running with it. He thinks that the Cybertruck can be modified slightly to be made into a cyber van or a delivery truck with way more storage space than the pickup truck.
Right, because, I mean, right now we're just talking about this as a cyber pickup truck. Oh, it has to fit into the F-150 marketplace. But wait a minute. There's the whole other side, the cyber van, the delivery truck market, where people don't care what it looks like. They just need to get stuff to, the job site or to the market. And that is another huge market. There was 3.2 million new commercial trucks sold in 2018.
So here's what I'm thinking, right? You just change the lines of this truck to look like this. Boom, there you go. You have a delivery van, which also happens to look like the Mystery Machine.
Another thing you could do is you could have an extended bed Cybertruck where you take out the second row of seats, which gives you about 4 feet of extra bed space, and then you've now got about a 10.5-foot bed. Now, some people have asked, does it have to only be in stainless steel? Can it be in matte black? And Elon said,
sure. Right. I mean, why not?
And I just wanted to point out, for those of you who are like, well, it looks ugly. If you just paint it slightly differently, take a look at this picture by Finricon on Reddit. If you just paint that back piece of the bed like this, I think it changes the entire look of the vehicle.
It completely does.
And, most people buying this truck, if they're buying it for actual use reasons, like a construction company, a landscape company, and so forth, they're going to look at what we talked about, the fact that it's indestructible, that it's going to last, it's never going to rust, that the motors are rated at probably 1 million miles, that this thing is built to last. And from an economics point of view, there's no argument.
It's powered by electricity, and most other trucks on the road are not. All the other trucks on the road are powered by diesel or gas, and it's expensive to own one of those trucks and to run it. The savings that you're going to get from this truck will practically pay for itself.
Yeah.
The amount that you're going to be saving on gas can just go straight into what you'd be paying on a loan.
Yeah, I mean, as Clean Technica pointed out, you're going to probably save about $90 a month over an F-150 in gas prices. And that's today's gas prices.
Right, and that's just driving it like a commuter car.
Right.
If you're towing stuff, if you're pulling stuff, the costs go extraordinarily high because whenever you're towing something, it's way less efficient, and the cost benefit is even greater for an electrically driven truck.
Now, if you're thinking about sick attachments, Elon says, gonna have some sick attachments.
Right. And one of the things about this is with an untreated stainless steel finish, you can just weld straight onto it.
Right.
Oh, I want to have something right here. Okay. And boom, you're all set. It's on.
Exactly. So if the orders stopped today and Tesla had 187,000 orders for the truck, and if they could build them in a year, that would put Tesla right here at number 6 on this chart, which would mean that they went from 0 making trucks to number 6 in the U.S. truck market.
And it's going to eat a little bit off of each truck, right? Because they're breaking into the truck market. Obviously, some people are going to be brought into the truck market, but a lot of people are going to be saying, do I really want to buy another F-150 when I could be, paying for this truck with just the gas savings from my old truck?
Now, we've been saying for a long time that we think that companies like GM and Ford are doomed, and this is another nail in that coffin, and that's because 84% of GM's American sales and 83% of Ford's sales are trucks, and they have put all of their eggs into the truck basket.
And here comes Tesla with their Cybertruck, and they don't have to completely obliterate the market, right? They don't have to take, 50% market share over the entire truck market. They just have to take this little bit, and it's going to have a huge effect over GM and Ford because they do not have a diversified sales fleet.
Right.
They are just relying on their trucks. And so as soon as anyone comes and takes a little bit of their lunch, they're going to starve to death.
I think another nail in the coffin for Ford and GM is that when Elon showed this little bit of footage on stage where there's a tug of war between the F-150 and the Cybertruck, and then he revealed that the camera angle was wrong. It was actually going uphill. So the Cybertruck pulled the F-150 in a tug of war uphill. Now, if you're buying a truck, I've got to believe that you will have heard of this by the time you go to buy your new truck. And I think it's going to be hard for you to put down your hard-earned money on an F-150 if you know that the competition did that to it.
Right. And also keep in mind that the average selling price for the Ford F-150 was $46,700. And that Ford sold 1.1 million trucks worldwide in 2018. And that is a $41 billion industry to them. And so here comes Elon with a superior truck, just on paper, it is a superior truck. It has a better 0 to 60. It can tow more. It has a bigger capacity. And it's way, way, way cheaper to run. You have all of these things.
And it's made in America.
And, yeah, exactly. Made in America, made with stainless steel. I mean, there's so many. It's bulletproof.
I know.
It's and the thing was, when we were riding in it, it felt like an armored personnel carrier from a video game, right? It just felt like you could just take it and just boom, right?
Yeah.
You just feel like, oh, I could really...
No, I mean, that's the other nail in the coffin. When you go for a test drive in this thing...
Yes. It exudes power.
Yes.
There is no lapse in power from 0 to 60. It's constant.
We were in the mid-range model. So, I mean,
Right.
we weren't going 2.9 seconds. We were going like in the 4s, right?
When
Like,
they make the 2.9 version...
Yeah.
It's going to be astounding.
Yeah. So that's Ford and GM and Ram, right? But a lot of people are going to say, well, Rivian, they were there first. They've got their truck ready to go. But I want to point out there's a lot of things that I think Elon was probably looking at when he made this truck. And I think Rivian was on the list. So Rivian's base price for their truck is $69,000. Tesla's top-end model is $69,900. So they blew them away in terms of price.
Yeah.
We don't know the pre-order numbers for Rivian. I got to guess that's because, and we're a pre-order on the Rivian, you know, we think it's a great truck, but I got to wonder why Rivian hasn't released their pre-order numbers. I think it's probably because it's not 187,000.
Right. With a base price of 69, that's an expensive truck.
Right.
And a lot of people they couldn't justify it, especially for a 4.5-foot bed.
Now, Rivian can do some impressive numbers, 0 to 60 in 3 seconds, but Tesla's truck does it in 2.9.
2.9.
Charging. Rivian can charge at 160 kilowatts, which is great.
Tesla can do it in 250 kilowatts, and they have superchargers across the globe for you to charge at.
Rivian's top line truck range is 400 miles.
And Tesla has a 500 plus number, which we haven't seen. We don't even know what it's going to be, but it's going to be more than 500.
The Rivian R1T can tow 11,000 pounds.
The top model Tesla can do 14,000 pounds.
The Rivian can hold 5 passengers.
Tesla can do 6.
The payload of Rivian is 1,763 pounds.
And Tesla can do 3,500 pounds even on the base model.
The ground clearance for the Rivian is 14.1 inches, which is astounding.
And Tesla can do 16 inches.
And the bed length on the Rivian is 4.5 feet.
Tesla's is 6.5 feet.
So I think that's kind of it for Rivian's truck, I got to say. Because if you want to go do an adventure in the mountains or in the forest or in the desert, why wouldn't you pick a truck that has solar panels and can do all the same things? I think what has happened, and I'm crediting Clean Technica on this, because they point out that the Cybertruck makes all other pickup trucks look like princess wagons. And so I think what Elon has done, he's created a new class of vehicle. I don't know what it's called yet. But remember when the Hummer came out? It wasn't really an SUV. It was kind of like a military SUV. And people who bought it, that's what they liked about it. It had like a reminiscent military aspect to it. Or, for instance, remember when the subcompacts came out in the late 70s and 80s? You had all these Japanese cars like the Honda and the Nissan, the Datsun, and we'd never seen them in America like that before.
Right.
There's tiny little cars that did what we need them to do.
Right. It's similar to like the Jeep, because, I mean, Jeep, it's a Jeep. Right, there's nothing especially when we're talking about a Wrangler.
Right.
Like, there's nothing else that is what a Jeep is.
Or a minivan. Before the minivan, there was no minivan.
Right, you'd have like a station wagon.
Right.
That was as close as you.
And so when it came out, it was a popular car because it did what families needed to do. I think the Cybertruck is a new class, and I don't think that Big Auto is going to take notice of this until it's too late. Like, I don't think right now Ford and GM are sitting around going, "Ooh, let's do the same thing."
And that's why I think that the look of the Cybertruck was kind of brilliant, because you can easily dismiss it. This doesn't fit a pickup truck look, and for a lot of people, it's like, oh, it's too much for me, whatever. Well, there are enough people in the world. I think 187,000 pre-orders is plenty. I think Tesla's going to be chewing on that number for a while in terms of production. So, like, it's not like it's so out there that nobody wants it. There's enough people who want it to where Tesla's going to be working on fulfilling those orders for a while. But it's a completely different class of truck. Having the exoskeleton be a bulletproof exoskeleton that can take a sledgehammer hit is a completely different class of truck than any truck before. It's so different.
That's what blew me away. That's why I thought when he revealed the prices that we were looking at something even higher. I thought by that point in the presentation, I thought, okay, well, my $75,000 base price, that's out the window. This thing that you can smash with the sledgehammer, it's got to be $100,000 plus.
Right. And that's why you can't base everything off looks, because the look is directly tied to the function of the truck. The function of the truck is to be a brick, is to be this indestructible thing, because it's a truck and it should be indestructible.
Right.
And how do you accomplish that? You use a completely new and different technology to make this box of bulletproof strength, and that's how you accomplish it.
Now, finally, if you look at the Cybertruck and it's too much for you, but you still want an electric truck, don't worry. Lordstown Motors has you covered with their Endurance electric pickup truck.
They have claimed that they will start deliveries in Q4 of 2020 with a starting price of $52,500.
Now, this is not a picture of an actual physical truck. This is a CGI picture. But if you believe that they can actually beat Elon to market with their truck that isn't even a thing yet, good luck.
There you go.
I wish them luck.
Yeah, it's not bulletproof. The glass isn't bulletproof.
It's not sledgehammer proof.
It's definitely...
it looks like a truck.
It just looks like a truck. So there you go. We have options, people.
I hate to say it because it is an electric truck and I'm all for electrics, but I think that Elon just squashed down every possible competitor for quite some time.
Yes.
All right, it's time for our video contributor stories, because this is Tesla Time News, by the way.
Keep in mind, I know, right?
So here we go.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. Rocket reporting from the Blue Ridge Parkway Tesla Drive. There's a whole bunch of people out here. I think we have close to 80 cars. Rough count already. And 4 cars coming. We actually have a Tesla service right here. Just asking if people need repairs. I brought a whole bunch of parts. So do repairs right in the parking lot for everyone. And we're getting ready. A whole bunch of cars. The camera over there is actually doing a live stream right now. If you want to see the video, it's at live.brptesladrive.org. But it is 12:18. We are planning to leave about 2 p.m. And we are driving about 70-ish miles on the parkway, going to Cherokee, North Carolina. Stop there, come back to Asheville for a dinner tonight, and that'll be the end of the event. Okay, we all made it to the parking lot and we are heading back to the Supercharger and or Crown Plaza for our dinner. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you haven't already, go ahead and give Zach and Jesse a thumbs up on this video and a subscribe if you're not already. Please go to brptesladrive.org for more information on next year's drive, and now you know.
So thank you, Rocco, for showing us that coverage of the Tesla meetup event. That looked like a lot of fun. And it's time now for Patreon bonus stories. So if you'd like to support us for as little as $1 a month and help us to put on the shows, like going to the Tesla Cybertruck event costs some money.
Yeah.
And we really thank you, Patreons, for supporting us. So head on over to Patreon and check out our bonus stories, and we'll see you in a moment. All right, we're back from our Patreon bonus stories. That was a lot of fun.
Yep.
It's time for our Patreon shout-outs. These are people who give $5 or more a month to keep us going. Who do we got this week, Jess?
We've got Gabriel Strom,
Sid,
Stephen Thompson,
Tony Fraigiacomo,
William Turner,
Christian Malbouf,
Mark Zilka,
Vulpine Designs Limited,
James Oldershaw,
Undercurrents Radio, Jason
Rogers,
Eric T. Cummer,
Dogan Carman,
and Doug.
Thank you so much for supporting this channel. You make it possible.
All right, there's not going to be any Elon tweets of the week this week because he just tweeted all about Cybertruck, and we've already covered that, but we've got some community mail time.
Community mail time.
Our buddy Khalil in Tunisia continues doing great things connecting the Tesla community throughout the world. He says 2 Tunisian owners that live in Europe were inspired by the movement of deploying Tesla wall connectors. We collaborated. They already installed 4 this past summer in Movenpick hotels in Tunisia. This December, they'll add 14 more Tesla wall connectors in different hotels throughout Tunisia. Here's another perfect example where Tesla's mission is the core motivation that unifies peoples and nations that speak sometimes different languages, religions, and customs.
And our friend Johnny just got his new Model 3 in Taiwan.
Nice.
Of all places.
All right, it's time for our on-air question of the week.
And Ray says, please don't do a Tesla versus Mustang Mach-E comparison. Give Ford a little break. The planet needs EVs, and Ford is better than some others, okay? A devoted fan of Now You Know.
So he doesn't want us to pit the two together against each other.
No.
Okay.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay.
I like EVs.
Right. And exactly. If you own an EV, it doesn't matter if it's a Bolt, a Leaf, a Tesla, a Mach-E, you're doing a good thing for the planet.
Yeah.
So good on you for doing that. Again, we're not against electric cars.
And here's the results of our last Patreon poll. We asked, do you think Berlin is a good site for Gigafactory 4?
And basically everyone said that it was.
Yeah. Just a few people said 9. It's time for Supercharger reviews.
Hey Zach and Jesse, this is Tom and I'm at Keel Services with my new Tesla Model 3. Check it out. Oh yeah, got it last week and it's unbelievable. Honestly, I can't even, well, you know. But yeah, I'm at Keel Services and there's a welcome break here and there's a few other places like McDonald's, Burger King and other things, so I'd probably give it and a Starbucks. I just got a tea with milk, which is weird apparently in other places, but a Starbucks and another thing, so I'd probably give it, you know, a 8 out of 10, something like that. So yeah, so there you go. So now you know. Keep up the good work. See ya.
Hey Zach and Jesse, this is Barry reporting on the northbound 95 Supercharger in Kennebunk, Maine. This is an 8-stall Supercharger, which unfortunately appears to be located directly next to where all these semis are idling. It is about 1 a.m. right now, so you can imagine there's quite a few semis over there. I'm sure the noise, I feel like I have to talk over it. I'm sure it's coming through very loud and clear. So I will have to take a point off for that, just being that we're so close to these idling big diesels. All in all, I have to give the Supercharger a 9 out of 10. It is very conveniently located right off the highway. During the day, there's a lot of different food choices. Right now, again, all we have available at this hour is Burger King, but it is nice that there's something available for you even you know, at 1 a.m. if you happen to be passing through the area. And now you know.
Well, good morning, Zach and Jesse. Jesse and Zach. We are at the Kennedy Space Center, as you can see behind me. And we just found out that it actually has a destination charger. It's got 3 chargers, but one of them is out of service. Actually, I think 2 of them are Tesla and 1 is ChargePoint. And the ChargePoint is out of service. But the 2 Tesla chargers, destination chargers, are in service. So we're going to plug it in and we're going to go to the Kennedy Space Center. Now you know.
Good morning. We're outside of Pittsburgh by the airport, and I wanted to highlight this motel. It's the La Quinta Airport in Moon, Pennsylvania. And waking up in the morning with our car fully charged was wonderful. You would need to call ahead, make a reservation, and then call ahead that day, and they will put traffic cones to block off the parking area, because otherwise ICE cars will fill it up. It's a very, very crowded parking lot. Now you know.
I love that portion of the show. Remember that you can upload your own Supercharger review to our website. So that's nowyouknowchannel.com, and then you'll find the Supercharger review page. You can find everyone's Supercharger review there on a map of the world with all the Superchargers, all the destination chargers. You can upload your own. Just remember to keep the video in landscape mode. Hold the phone like this. Don't hold it like this. This is bad.
All right, it's time for new Superchargers. What do we got?
We have the 20-stall version 3 Supercharger in Santa Rosa, California.
We have number 276 in China, the 10-stall 150 kilowatt in Haifei, Swan Lake, China.
The 10-stall urban supercharger at Menlo Park in California.
The 4-stall 150 kilowatt in Jerez, Spain.
The 18-stall urban supercharger in Hawthorne at El Segundo Boulevard, California.
Number 490 in Europe is the 8-stall 150 kilowatt in Sindelsdorf, Germany.
12-stall supercharger in Cary, North Carolina.
The 8-stall in Nashville, Tennessee.
The 8-stall in Macomb, Mississippi.
And number 729 in the USA, number 1689 in the world, is the 8-stall 150 kilowatt in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. All right, it's time for our Patreon giveaway.
All right.
And we're giving away a sticker.
Giving away a sticker?
Yeah. Stickers are cool. Look at this one right here. Huh?
Nice. All right, well, see who's winning a sticker this week.
Don't forget that all of our EcoWare stuff is designed with solar energy and is completely offset. So if you buy a tee or a sticker, we plant a tree.
The winner this week is Florestan Trement.
Florestan, you have won yourself a EcoWare sticker. Congratulations. And you guys made it to the end of the show. And we made it through a pretty tough week. That was a lot of travel to LA and back.
That was.
With you
carbon
being...
offset travel,
yes,
by the way.
We do
the
carbon
flights
offset.
Were carbon
yes.
offsetted. So just in case you were worried or something like that, we did carbon offset the flight.
And we did ride electric scooters when we were in Santa Monica. So.
It's true. And we had a Model 3 Uber us to the event.
Right.
So
that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool.
I felt really awesome getting out of that.
Yeah.
And it was cool because our Uber driver, he was a new Tesla owner, and he was telling us some stuff as if we didn't know anything about the car. So for a while, we were kind of going along with it, like, oh, really? And then we let him know that, like, we knew what he was talking about. In fact, we started giving him some hints. But it was really cool. It was the first time I had experienced a Tesla owner who wasn't a true, like, Tesla fanatic. Mm-hmm. Like, he was not a first-level adopter. He was like a, I don't know, fourth-level adopter or something. He bought the car because it made sense for all the reasons that we talk about every week. And I was like... yes!
Yeah, finally!
We've done it!
Right. And it's cool. It's the first standard range Model 3 that I had ever been in. So that was a $35,000 Model 3.
Yeah. And,
first one I had ever seen.
And he's driving around LA without autopilot, and I felt so bad because I was like, do I tell him how awesome autopilot is, or do I just keep that to myself?
Well, you know, he'll get it eventually.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Because LA is awful.
Oh man,
I'm sorry. I feel so bad. I mean, I love LA, like the weather and the people are great and stuff, but the traffic is
forget it.
Oh,
yeah.
It's to get across town is just you need a tunnel. Come on, Elon, let's go with the tunnel.
Yeah.
Wow. And by the way, if you're looking at all these names going by, they're all of our amazing Patreons who give $5 or more a month.
Right. All these people are amazing.
Over 1,000. Over 1,000 names you're seeing here.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so we made it through the week. I'm glad that you're feeling better. Oh my gosh.
I think I need
Didn't know if he was going to make it.
I need a little rest before Thanksgiving. So.
Oh, and by the way, if you made it to the end of the show, so many people asked us at the event, they'd come up to me and go, I have a dumb question. Are you guys father and son?
Yeah, we're father and son. Why don't you guys know that? I feel like we talk about it once a month or something. Right. I know that it's not once a month. It's a month of Sundays, which pretty much literally must be.
A lot of people were commenting on the live stream because you'd run around going, hey, where's my dad?
And they were like, who's your dad?
Your dad's at the event? And it was like, yeah. We're father and son.
Right. Which is why I think this show makes so much sense. Because we have someone with experience, and we have someone who wants to burn everything to the ground. Because I'm so mad about everything.
Sometimes I feel like it's the opposite. Like, I want to just burn everything to the ground, but I don't want to do that because it's going to be your planet. You know?
I see. But I want to burn the system to the ground.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
It's a good thing that we have a flamethrower just in case we ever need to.
Yeah, with an extra bottle of propane there.
Yeah.
God, I wish there was an electric-powered flamethrower. That would be awesome.
He could do... I mean, we were basically...
A Tesla coil.
Yeah, at the event we had one.
Oh, a Tesla coil.
We need a Tesla coil for the set.
Oh.
And we need to put this on the set.
You want to put that on the set?
This goes on the set.
All right, where are we putting it?
I don't know.
A spot. Where's the spot that's not being blocked? Like, this whole area behind me is, like, blocked all the time. Oh, that looks good.
Where?
Over here? Is there a way to put it with this other hat? Next put it on top of the other hat. Oh, I don't want to do that, but can I... Just block the aluminum.
Yeah, no. We need to get a block of stainless steel now.
How about if they go together like this?
That looks fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All
right. So just because you watch the end, you're going to notice that this is going to be here
new set piece
for at least another week. I don't know until we decide to move it. We always make subtle changes to the set.
Oh yeah,
there's
been changes. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if
Elon's here now.
Right. I don't know. It's always slightly out of focus. That's our 2.8 aperture lens that we thank you, patrons, for making this show better.
All right, let's go.
And hey, did you notice the other week when we adjusted the lights?
Oh yeah, you can see my.
Do you see how
eyes.
there's no? Do you look? Move your head around. Do you see how there's no reflections of the lights? Move your head like up. You see there are lights. Like look left. There used to be not that far left. Right there. See that? See that on his glasses? Right? There used to be that on this side, and we completely fixed it.
Yeah, it only took 3 hours.
It only took 3 hours of swearing and yelling at each other, and we finally fixed it.
it.
You're welcome, everybody. So thank you so much for watching the show.
Now you know.
We'll see you next week. Hey, hit the subscribe button, why don't you?
Yeah,